Let's imagine this. You are earning money now, maybe even earning well, but still something feels empty inside. So what do? You work hard. You save more and chase bigger goals. But the emptiness doesn't go away. Why? Well, in the art of spending money, Morgan Housel gives a powerful answer. And that answer may change the way you look at money forever. Let's dig deep, shall we? The amazing carpet. Michael had been blind since childhood. Morgan Housel says that at the age of 46, after a surgery, Michael was able to see for the first time. When he came out of the hospital, something amazing happened. He stopped and stared at the carpet on the floor. It was just an ordinary office carpet, but he said, "Look at these patterns. Look at these colors." To him, it was something truly astonishing. Now, think about this. You and I walk over carpets every day, but we do not even look at them. Why? Because we are used to them. This is the most important idea. Happiness does not depend on how big something is. It depends on contrast. A sip of water may feel like the best drink in the world when you are extremely thirsty. Even a simple meal can feel like the most delicious meal when you are very hungry. So, how are these examples connected to money? Well, you do not feel rich when you earn millions. You feel rich when you move from having nothing to having something. Your first salary, the first thing you bought with your own money, the happiness you feel in these moments could be greater than the happiness of seeing your wealth increase from 10 million to 20 million. Happiness exists in the gap between our expectations and reality. But Michael was able to stare at the carpet in wonder only for a few days. After that, even that became normal to him. That means the contrast theory itself can also deceive you. The same thing happened to one of the richest families in the world. Their wealth, more than $300 billion in today's value, could not save them. Why? Well, let's listen to the story next. Great Wealth and the Great Fall. Our story begins in 19th century America. At the time, the richest man in the world was Cornelius Vanderbilt. Through his railway and shipping empire, he earned such enormous wealth that in today's value, it would be worth many billions of dollars. It is said that when he died, he had more money than the US Treasury itself. But here's the problem. Within less than 30 years after his death, that enormous fortune disappeared. Most of his grandchildren and great-grandchildren died in extreme poverty. How did this happen to one of the richest families in the world? Where did they go wrong? The Vanderbilt family used their wealth for only one thing: display. They built 10 mansions in a row in New York City. These were not ordinary houses. They were like royal palaces. They spent millions of dollars in today's value for a single night's party. To them, money was not a tool for living a happier life. It was only an ornament used to show their status to the world. At first, money is a tool in your hand. But if you do not know how to control it, slowly it becomes your master. That is what happened to the Vanderbilts. They did not spend money to improve their lives. They spent money simply because they had the ability to spend. Now, compare this picture with another person. This person is Chuck Feeney, the founder of world-famous DFS, duty-free shoppers. He was also an American billionaire, but he lived in a completely different way. He secretly donated his wealth of about $8 billion to others. He wore a $15 plastic watch. He traveled by ordinary bus. While the Vanderbilts displayed their wealth, Chuck Feeney kept his billions hidden from the world and lived simply. He once said that he was happiest when he gave away what he had to others. So, what is the real difference between these two sides? The Vanderbilts had money, but they did not have happiness. Chuck Feeney did not keep his money because he gave it away, but he had real happiness and freedom. True wealth is not about amount of money you own. It's about controlling money without allowing money to control you. But do you know the biggest mistake many wealthy people make? It's a subtle trap. You may already be caught up in that trap, but you may not even know it. The status trap. Do the things we buy give us real value? Or are we trying to show our social status through them? The best example of this is billionaire Bill Koch, according to Morgan Housel. He loved wine so much that his wine collection had more than 43,000 bottles. Once, he bought 4 rare wine bottles, believing to have belonged to former President Thomas Jefferson. He paid $400,000 for them. Looking at those bottles gave him great pride and satisfaction. What he wanted was to show the world, I own one of the rarest things in the world. But a few years later, he discovered that all those bottles were fake. Inside those bottles was just ordinary wine. So what did he really buy after spending such a huge amount of money? He did not really buy wine. He bought the respectful way he imagined other people would look at him. This is the trap. When we spend money to show status rather than to gain real utility, our happiness depends on others. If we become happy because of the label on the outside, even though the inside contains ordinary wine, means our happiness is not controlled by us. It is controlled by the world. The biggest problem with spending money to show status is this: there will always be someone in the world who is above you. Because of that, your expectations keep rising, but your real satisfaction keeps falling. As this gap grows wider, no matter how wealthy you become, your mind becomes restless. True wealth means the ability to enjoy the real usefulness of the things you own. A person who spends according to their real needs rather than to impress others will never fall into this trap. Now, I want to ask you a question. When you read your life story again at the end of your life, will you be happy? One of the most successful businessmen in the world asked himself this question and built the giant company called Amazon. And that lesson can be used by you too. The real risk? Regret. We are all afraid of losing money, but there's something more dangerous than that. The final words spoken by popular actor David Cassidy shortly before his death were so much wasted time. The balance between life and money is very complicated. If you work only to save money, you will not have time left to enjoy life. But if you spend everything just to enjoy today, your future security will disappear. So how do we find the golden line between these two? Jeff Bezos, one of the richest people in the world, used a wonderful solution for this. He called it the Regret Minimization Framework. Now, before making a decision, he imagined himself at the age of 80. Looking back at his life, he asked himself, will I regret not doing this when I am 80 years old? That is why he left his job to start Amazon. He knew that even if the business failed, he would not regret trying. Morgan Housel says that if he never tried, he would regret it forever. Remember, real risk is not only about having less money in your bank account. The real risk is reaching the final stage of your life and thinking, I could have lived better than this. Happiness is the gap between what you received and what you expected. Your financial decisions should not only be about money. They should be investments made for your future self. True freedom belongs only to those who control money correctly today so that they will not regret it in the future. Now, we have come to a very important point. Do you know that someone who walked on the moon, someone who achieved one of the greatest victories in life, lived with great difficulty for many years? What could be the reason? Well, the answer may disturb you. Fear of missing out. Now, let's talk about one of the most dangerous forces that attacks our wealth and happiness. That is called FOMO, fear of missing out. Buzz Aldrin achieved something that almost anyone in the world would dream of. He became the second man in the world to walk on the moon. But surprisingly, after that, he suffered from severe depression and alcohol addiction. Why? Morgan Housel says that is because he kept comparing himself with Neil Armstrong. To the world, he was a hero. but to himself, he appeared only as second. Can you now understand how powerful comparison can be? Today, this problem is inside our own pocket. Through social media, we see only the best pictures of other people's lives. When you see those pictures, your expectations rise without you even realizing it. Nothing may be missing from your own life, but by looking at other people's lives, you change the expectation level of your own happiness. Morgan Housel says that research has revealed something fascinating. If your neighbor wins a lottery, your chance of going into debt to buy new things increases by 7%. Why? Because their success raises your expectations. This is like a never-ending race. True financial freedom is not only about earning more and more. It is also about not allowing your happiness goalposts to move because of what someone else is doing. A person trapped by FOMO keeps running behind other people's expectations forever. But the person who knows what is enough is the one who truly wins this race. So now you know the things that break pieces of your happiness. But knowing them alone is not enough. Many people learn these things and say, from tomorrow, I will live properly. Then they go back to living the same old way. This is why we are now going to talk about 5 methods you can actually use to stop losing yourself day by day. A practical plan. Now you know the truth. The problem is not the lack of money. The problem is inside that gap. So how do we control it? Here is a simple method you can actually use. First, deliberately lower your expectations. Do not turn luxuries into everyday normal things. Every time your income increases, do not immediately increase your lifestyle expenses, because from the moment something becomes normal to you, the happiness you get from it starts to disappear. Second, enjoy good things only occasionally. Do not make luxuries your habit. Something you receive only once in a while feels special. Use contrast to your advantage in this way. Third, before buying something, ask one question. Is this for my life, or is this to show others? If it is something done to show status, it will not give you the long-term happiness. Fourth, use the regret test. Ask yourself, will I regret not doing this 10 years from now? Decisions that give you meaningful experiences often pass this test. Finally, remove FOMO. There will always be someone in the world who has more than you. You can never win that race. Only way to win it is to leave the race. Many people try to earn more money, but only a few people learn how to control their expectations. Now, you clearly understand the connection between money and happiness. If this video was useful to you, subscribe to Investor Wannabe Global channel and use the knowledge from future videos in your life. I am Investor Wannabe, wishing you success.